was that some sort of center-right coalition provides political stability and commitment to long-term industrial development, and within that, the technocrats will figure out how to channel investment into the right direction, then not necessarily through central directives, but through various mechanisms of coordination and persuasion and so on. Yes, these people in the end have to be controlled by the kind of the politicians and ultimately by the population, because they, the classic jokes about all these anarchs in France, being fantastically good at kind of I remember reading the joke that in the countryside of France, this sheep farmer met this guy who was trying to drive through his the flock, and they got talking, and the guy in the car said, I can exactly tell you how many sheep you have. Yeah? So the farmer says, no, impossible. I mean, I have so many sheep, but how can you tell? And he says, no, I can, and I'm very highly trained. So they take a bet, and the farmer says, okay, if you, I know how many sheep I have, so if you tell me exactly how many I have, I'll give you a sheep as a present. Yeah? And then this guy says, 373 or whatever, which was the correct number. And the guy gets very smug and says, yes, okay, I'll take this sheep. And the farmer starts laughing and says, you must be from Anna. Yeah? How did you know? Well, sir, you are taking my sheepdog. Yeah? You may know how many sheep I have, but you cannot tell a dog from a sheep. Yeah? So we have
Yeah.
I mean, in the technocratic solution, we have that problem. Ultimately, you can only kind of reduce the problem through checks and balances, not necessarily through the formal government structure, but different social groups that becoming the kind of how do you call it, the watchers of these
Yeah,
people, and
yeah, yeah. Is there? But I suppose a second point. I agree with that, and there's a sense I feel that if you do have a technocratic elite that's committed to public service, it would be mad not to allow that group,
mm-mm,
particularly properly
mm-mm,
meritocratic,
yeah,
supervised, exactly. It'd
yeah,
be mad not to
mm-mm,
let it,
mm-mm,
in some broad
yeah,
sense, arrange things. I suppose I was also asking a question about what that culture of public service requires, because thinking about Britain, there's a sense in which I think that we would find it terribly hard to recreate that group, to have mandarins in Whitehall
mm-mm,
who have a sense of the responsibility for the their patch, their piece, who would
yeah,
have the sense of responsibility for the sheep in your
mm-mm,
joke,
mm-mm,
for the farmers, to the extent of knowing that,
yeah, yeah.
etc. What's the relationship towards the state, towards the nation, that those technocrats need to have in order
Mm-mm.
for that to be an effective solution?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean you had that. I mean, maybe not as much as in France or Japan, but you had that to an extent in this country. But through 1980s civil service reform, more marketization and performance-related pay and stuff, I think that has been watered down a lot. No, I think in the end, that group shouldn't be rewarded, kind of, according to short-term performance. I mean that this has to be a group that has very long-term commitment. I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't pay them well. I mean, for example, in Singapore, I mean, you have these public government officials that are getting actually higher salary than their counterparts in the private sector. And when you think about it, that's, I think, the right solution, because that you may have many different firms in the private sector, but you have only one government. So if you get bad people there, then yeah, that's damage to the whole society. Although I mean, a few countries have the guts of Singapore to do something like this, because governments are always under pressure to cut costs and become efficient and so on. So I mean, that's another the political challenge. But no, these people should be rewarded for their long-term career. I mean, their performance should be kind of judged in broad terms for over a long term, rather than checking how many boxes they have ticked in the last 2 years when they were serving in this or that. And I think that they they should be more or less banned from getting private sector jobs after they reach a certain level, because I mean, in countries like Korea, you have uh, allowed this, and in the last decade and a half, it has had very corrosive effect on the quality of public conduct, because when you are supposed to regulate people who are going to be your prospective employer 10 years later, you treat them with kid gloves. Yeah? So I think it has actually created this very unhealthy collaboration between the private sector and the public sector. So if
Right.
you really want that kind of elite, you should pay them well, but make it impossible for them to benefit from interaction with the private sector.
Although I suppose people have also made the point that maybe this is idealistic, but that the French system of having a revolving door between the top of industry and the top of the civil service, the top of finance,
Yeah.
means that it's all the easier to coordinate those various activities.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything has only one side. I mean, everything has good side and bad side. Okay, I mean, you look at that revolving door from positive the point of view. I mean, yes, I mean, you don't even need to talk to each other before you know what to do. Yeah? On the other hand, I mean, this shades into corruption and. What if these people have a very narrow view of national interest, and other people cannot get through them because they only talk to each other, and there's no alternative the kind of view getting through, then you have an even bigger problem.
Let me go back to something
Mm.
that you said in your previous answer, which was something about the importance of government. That reminded me of another point in the book, in the 23 Things, where you produce Warren Buffett's quote, in which Warren Buffett says, or a large part of my wealth and my success is due to the society that I'm
That's
in.
right, yeah.
If you imagine putting me in Peru or Bangladesh, I,
I'd be nothing.
I would have my productivity would be nothing. There's a sense, it seems to me, in which one of your themes throughout the book is this question of, in a way, the arbitrariness of how we decide what should be rewarded, how should be rewarded the individual contribution and the background social contribution.
Yeah.
What's the principle, do you
Yeah.
think, that should...
No, I
that-
wouldn't call it arbitrary. I mean, these are done through a certain mechanism which has its own logic. But the point that I was trying to make is that have to, if you just leave it to the market, it will naturally reward only kind of that particular individual characteristic one happens to possess, wherever that has come from. Yeah? So that's where we have to intervene. I mean, you have to say that, look, I mean, that you have all these the social origins of your individual productivity, and you have to give it a recognition. And this is partly why we have things like progressive income tax. Yeah. So
yes.
you have to change that mechanism, so you can, yes, I mean, I think it's perfectly legitimate for the society to intervene in the pay decisions of very top people. I mean, A, you cannot do it for everyone. B, probably for people lower down the pay scale, is going to cost more to make that fine tuning than actually that it brings benefit to the society. But these the big bank bonuses or the compensations of top civil servants, I mean, how much the gain you can make in the financial market as a top investor like Warren Buffett. And so I think that the society has a legitimate kind of the ground to intervene. I mean, exactly how much, I mean, that's to be debated. But I think unless we start from this recognition that our product, our productivity has a strong collective origin, be it because you happen to have been born in a society where you can get free education if you're smart, be it because you have been born in a country where that your kind of skills are richly rewarded and so on. And you have to recognize that, and then try to kind of reform modify the result that market gives you, because market only give you that what is kind of apparent on the surface.
So economists, when they explain production and explain growth, this may have changed since I looked at these things, but typically you'll have land, labour and capital as being your inputs. On the whole, there isn't an attempt to say there's social capital.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's increasingly the recognition that there's something more than labor and capital and land that is involved. So the economists have started looking at institutions and culture and social capital and what have you. But yes, I mean, unfortunately, these theories are still quite primitive, and they are largely based on kind of empirical observations that countries with I don't know, higher levels of trust or things like that.
Although actually, I mean, in a sense, that seems a very reductive sense
is,
of what,
yeah,
what you're talking
exactly,
about,
yeah.
because you're talking about any number of very, very complex ways of doing things and interactions,
Exactly, yeah.
which, if they didn't exist, the individual would be in a state of nature
Exactly,
without.
yeah.
And if one now, I suppose my next question is, what do you think the right tools are for understanding how to preserve and enhance that factor of production, which is, as it were, the hidden factor of production, the one we've tended to ignore?
That's right. Yeah. No, I mean, I should start by saying that I am trying to develop some of these theories. I mean, I cannot claim to have the kind of finished the project. I mean, it's quite a complex question, and I keep doing it. But yes, I mean, one thing that really set me on this path is when I first came to this country as a graduate student back in 1986. In the beginning, I just couldn't understand how this country could be 3 times richer than my own country, or close to 4 times at the time. Yeah? I mean, I just couldn't understand because the people in the shops they couldn't add. I mean, that at the time you go to Korean shops, I mean, you have this the girls kind of dealing with 3 customers all at the same time and doing all the calculations in the head and you know
Much
why?
more productive.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, these
Productivity
people,
was higher.
That's right.
Yes.
Much more productive. They were doing the jobs of probably 5 people.
No doubt, working much longer
That's
hours
right,
as
yeah.
well.
So in the beginning, I couldn't understand, and then slowly dawned on me that no, actually, it's not because of these individuals that Britain is a much more advanced society. It's all to do with the underlying social institutions and technologies embodied in machines. Yeah, so you shouldn't really reduce things down to individuals. Now, as you correctly pointed out, the interaction between these different factors is very, very complex. I mean, you cannot reduce it to things like trust and so on. I mean, which are difficult to, impossible to correctly measure anyway, and I mean, also conceptually quite shaky. But we'll have to look at if you like technology as a bundle of collective knowledge. I mean, the enterprise as a particular way of organizing and coordinating our production activities. How it's done. I mean, we don't know. I mean, the economists have. I mean, not everyone, but most economists that have tried to have treated the production process essentially as a black box. So there's a functional relationship between input and output. You put a certain amount of input, it comes out.
Magic.
That's right.
Which,
yeah.
of course, in development economics led to a lot of the thinking that all you needed
Exactly,
was
yeah.
to put capital
That's
in.
right. That was
the World Bank, the Washington model
exactly,
was
yeah.
that you put,
Yeah,
you put capital in, you got growth out.
That's right. And to be fair, even many so-called heterodox people, I mean, they thought, okay, increase in investment and we get output. But a lot of the deficiency was in the way things are organized, things are coordinated. And the how these things also interact with the physical infrastructure. I mean, these are very complex things, and I'm only beginning to kind of build elements of this the bigger theory, which I hopefully at some point should construct. But there's actually very little recognition that these kind of things are in a way what matters more than I mean, if they won, I mean, how come you give I don't know some poor developing country state of art German factory and you visit it 3 years later is half kind of the malfunctioning.
So, which makes me think, bringing this back to the driving theme of your 23 things, which is about market ideology, the things that they told you and that weren't true. Do you think it's fair in a way to have a picture that what we have, the thing that we're dealing with, is this extraordinary complex interdependent system of very heterogeneous elements, institutions, rules, agents, great deal of complexity and heterogeneity, and which is the social machine. And then we have a picture of the social machine, which is the market theory. And we sort of